Hello and welcome to the Final Whistle with me, Daniel Waterson, looking back at Hibs' 2-2 draw with St Mirren. Coming up, James Delaney and I discuss the match, and we have the post-match thoughts from Gary Parker. First, let's remind ourselves of the action with Cliff Pike and Keith Reid.
Ollie Shaw looked like he took a sore one there. The referee allows play to continue. That is some goal. What a strike that is from just about the halfway line. Adam Bogdan caught out around the penalty spot, scrambling back. Adam Hamill did it against Hearts, and he's done exactly the same thing here against Hibs. And after 6 minutes, he gives St Mirren the lead, and Hibs will have the throw-in, taken quickly by Slivka to Boyle. Drives forward, he's inside the 18-yard box, clips across, it's in the back of the net from Ollie Shaw at last. Hibs back on level terms. Quick throw-in taken to Martin Boyle, gets to the byline, cuts it back. Ollie Shaw, one touch into the back of the net. 55 minutes gone, we're all square at Easter Road. Hibs 1, St Mirren 1. Hamill will whip this one in again. It's in the back of the net. I think that's off the head of Effie Ambrose, was it? It's in the back of the Hibs net anyway, and St Mirren go ahead again. All played in by Malin. Oh, it's a great header, and it's Ryan Porteous again. Bullets a header into the back of the net, and after 72 minutes Hibs are all square again. Hibs 2, St Mirren 2.
James, annoyingly I had like some sort of hilarious spiel prepared for about no appearances and set, but it doesn't matter, Hibs haven't won, so the whole thing's blown out of the water, but we're back.
Yeah, we haven't turned up, and thankfully the team's not been turning up as well, so that's good. It's a nice level of consistency maintained there.
Yeah, it's a kind of combination of technical errors and us not being at games has contributed to a lack of podcasts recently, but tonight Hibs have, I think we're 7-6 without a win now after tonight. A really tepid performance and a 2-2 draw against St Mirren.
Yeah, I suppose an improvement on Saturday in that at least we scored twice, but I can't honestly say that was a better team performance than we put in at the weekend. I think we're probably fortunate that we weren't playing a team as good as the league leaders, to be honest, or the new league leaders now, to be honest. St Mirren, to their credit, I think came in and gave a good account of themselves, and obviously scored an unbelievable first goal. But much as I do sort of respect to them, and it's a good point for them, it's a team that we should be beating without any trouble, with the talent that we had on the pitch tonight, and once again it's a performance that quite obviously and quite justifiably has not been well received by those here tonight.
Yeah, we fell behind twice, came back twice, which is good. It's something that we're more than used to with this side, but even after the second goal, I'm struggling to think of anything Danny Rodgers had to do. There was no oomph, there was no motivation, there was no fight almost to really drive on and win it. And it's a sort of very worrying run of results we're on at the moment, and you just worry or wonder when it's going to turn around.
Yeah, and I think, in sort of classic Hibs fashion, we've been handed the perfect opportunity, and we played 2 of the bottom 3 in these 2 games. We've had the first one here, and performance has not been convincing at all. We now have to go to Hamilton, which is a ground that we really do not enjoy playing at all. To try and sort of reassert ourselves in a much better run of form, coming up to 5 games or 5 games between now and the end of the year, between Saturday and the end of the year, where it's sort of make or break for our season now. It's the frustrating thing tonight wasn't so much in losing 2 goals to the St Mirren team, although it is obviously infuriating. It was that even when we got back on level terms, as you said, we never really looked like we were going to win the game. This is a St Mirren team that we brushed aside earlier this season. Yeah, it was only 1-0 at St Mirren, but it was it was comfortable. It was a very comfortable win. St Mirren offered absolutely nothing. Tonight they looked likely to score every time they went forward, and again, some talented players on the pitch. Adam Hamill, I think, was fantastic tonight, although we certainly didn't help ourselves, in basically allowing him to sort of dictate the game at times. So it is concerning, but you don't be sitting here and being too positive about it, but we do have another opportunity to build on this at the weekend, but it's going to take a much better performance than we put in tonight.
Well, the thing is as well is that we're still not a million miles away from where we expect to be in the league. Aberdeen getting the win at Ibrox tonight, as hilarious as that is kind of leaves us a bit stranded in the bottom 6 now, so we're 4 points adrift to Aberdeen in 6, we're in 8th, but when you look at the likes of 4th place, for example, if the league leaders were to win the Scottish Cup, we're still only 7 points behind Hearts, and we keep expecting to go, right, we'll get a run of results and we're kind of challenging for that top spot again. So it's not a case of all is not lost, but something certainly needs to change, and fast.
Yeah, and we kind of talked a little bit at half time about maybe a sort of lack of leadership in the consistency of who's captain and who's leading the team. We had Marvin Bartley captain tonight. He goes off. I couldn't even tell you actually who took the armband after that, to be honest.
No idea. Don't know.
We talked about the fact that we've already had Paul Hanlon as captain. Darren McGregor, I think, has been captain on one occasion. Effie Ambrose has been captain. Mark Milligan's been captain. Did I say Paul Hanlon there? I don't think I did.
I would have thought so.
Maybe.
Everyone's had a shot.
Everybody's had a shot, basically.
I was captain for the last time I was
You were.
Power was out, so nobody could see. That was brilliant.
I thought you did a decent job, to be honest. And you wonder kind of if that lack of consistent leadership is maybe affecting things. You heard Stevie Mallon sort of in the press this week talk about the fact that the players had this summit. They were sort of talking out their issues, and it sounds like it was David Gray leading that. So it maybe is a problem with leadership and leaders on the pitch, but at the same time, this is a team that absolutely annihilated Hamilton 6-0. Was that our last win?
Yeah, would have been. Yeah. So we're looking at what, mid-October for that?
Yeah, and that was an absolutely amazing performance, and we came away from that game, even though it was against a very, very poor Hamilton on the day. We came away from that game thinking, well, it's just going to be exactly the same as last season. There's going to be loads of goals. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fantastic, sort of, watching this team and progress and flourish. And it's completely sort of fallen off a cliff. It's just been, it's been dire, to be honest. And I think it's something that needs saying, that it has been bad over the past couple of weeks. But as with everything, we have an opportunity to turn this round. It's about taking those opportunities now. And it starts this next Saturday this coming Saturday against Hamilton.
Yeah, that's something I thought sort of Friday night. I looked at my phone on my way home. I think I was quite drunk, but I looked at my phone and Dundee United have lost 5-0 to United, and I kind of thought, oh wow, that kind of puts things into serious perspective, and you think about last season. But that was off the back of, and we went to Parkhead and started in the wrong shape, changed shape, and put in a decent performance against what is currently a rampant Celtic team, albeit they drop points tonight. We then go to Hearts, we lose Canberra after half an hour, 70 minutes, so we need to grind out a 0-0 draw there. Going to Pittodrie, we made enough chances that we should have taken something out of that game, and then sandwiched in there are poor performances at home to St Johnstone and Dundee. So you think, okay, maybe the results haven't really been what the performances have warranted, but then that kind of changed on Saturday and tonight. At this point, the players are having, Gary Parker's talking about low confidence and they're trying to lift the players' spirits. The players are having summits, so you kind of think, okay, we'll be galvanised tonight. And then what chance have you got when 5 minutes into the game, Adam Hamill from 52 yards, let's say 51, 52 yards, just shoots and scores, and that's that. 1-0 St Mirren.
Yeah, I think the first thing he's said there is it's an incredible goal. We saw Adam Hamill score similar goal. Not massively different against Hearts a couple of weeks ago when St Mirren beat Hearts. So we know that he has the talent to do that. Now, I'm not suggesting for any second that we should have been closing him down while he was in his own half. It's one of those goals that happens maybe once every 3 or 4 years against your team or for your team. To be honest, it's an unbelievable strike, and it's unbelievable vision from him to spot Bogdan off his line. He is obviously a hugely talented player, but it's one of those things when your luck's out, it's just out. That was just it. We were sitting watching it, and it seemed to take an age just to sort of come down and actually go into the net, but you always knew it was going into the net.
You're kind of thinking, this has a chance, this is going in. Yeah, there we go.
You can't even really sort of turn around and say that Adam Bogdan was at fault for it.
No.
It's one of those where he has to be out sort of observing observing the game. He has to be kind of in that position to see the game. It's difficult to see the game from your goal line. At the same time, he like, I'm pretty sure everybody else in the ground, apart from Adam Hamill, is not expecting to shoot there. And obviously, when that ball is dropping out the sky, he has to make a sort of snap decision over whether to basically try and get back on his line or to go for it. Now, it's 6-1 really there, because I think whatever he does, he's unlikely to get it. But it was almost like, the ball went in, there was absolutely no reaction from anybody else around us. Everybody just kind of stared at it and just went, yeah, that seems about right. It seems about exactly the thing that would happen now. Obviously, St Mirren fans enjoyed it, and I think if it had been the other way round, we would have enjoyed it as well. But
it will win goal of the season.
I mean, it will win goal of the season. I've absolutely no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those where it was just somehow the most likely yet unlikely thing to happen. Like, it just, if you told me tonight,
very Hibs.
Yeah, it was very Hibs. If you told me like tonight, before I got to the ground, and said, "Look, somebody's going to score from the halfway line against you tonight," I would have probably believed you. It's just, I mean, fair play to him. I think we've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent here about our luck, but it's some goal. Like, it's an unbelievable hit.
But I suppose from kind of a Hibs perspective, looking at it, it's that it wasn't as if that was a bolt out the blue against the run of play. So after, I think Hibs made a start and a chance in the opening minute, albeit it was flagged for offside, but St Mirren then almost kind of took control of the game at that point, and even after they went 1-0 up, it was still them that were maybe seeing slightly more of the ball, and it was all just so, I don't know, tame from Hibs.
Yeah, you feel we really needed a kind of a quick start, or a quick start in our favour certainly tonight, to really sort of put the pressure on St Mirren and make them sort of come out and play against us. And we do sort of create kind of a half chance after in the first minute. Canberra heads over, it's offside anyway, so it wouldn't have counted if it had gone in, but excuse me. Again, it's a classic Hibs, but for 60 seconds you were very positive that that's a decent enough start, and then 2 minutes later the ball's drifting through the air and it lands in the back of your net. So I mean, it was frustrating to see the heads go down that quickly, to be honest, and it was disappointing to see the heads go down that quickly, given that this side has been the Hibs side that's been praised for its kind of steel and its metal in these sort of situations, where other Hibs sides have crumbled. This one has kind of gained a reputation for, even though we've gone a goal down, we're still looking likely to take something, if not everything, from the game. It's still looked like a side that is very capable of winning games when other Hibs sides in the past would have lost them. Tonight you just didn't get that feeling.
No.
It takes us it's about almost an hour to actually get back into it. But I mean, even then, you don't look at it and go, well, go on and win this and take all 3 points, and that's the season turned around now.
So chances are few and far between, especially in the first half. I think after St Mirren score, Boyle has a volley that goes wide. Canberra is bursting through, should play Boyle in but doesn't. I think he ends up taking a shot that goes nowhere or loses the ball, and that seems to have been a big problem in the recent games with the lack of goals. Is it's almost every time it's a final decision. There was one on Saturday at Rugby Park where Darryl Horgan's bursting through, and I can't remember if it's Shaw or Boyle, but somebody's with him the whole way, and Horgan decides to take the shot on and he blazes it over the bar, and it just seems to be this kind of final ball, and I'm probably going to go off on a tangent here with this question, but in this recent run of form, it's not as if you can pinpoint one game or one specific moment that would trigger what we're seeing right now.
No, it's not. And I mean, even you look at games, like the Aberdeen game, where we lose a goal from a bit of a mix-up in defence. Good finish by Gary Mackay-Stephen, to be fair, but we created plenty of chances in that game and just couldn't put the ball in the net. Same with Dundee. We're 2-0 up. We had a couple of decent chances in that when we were still 2-0 up, when we were still 2-1 up.
Yep.
And couldn't put the ball in the back of the net and kill the game. And it's going back to that kind of Hibs of old, where
even just this time last year.
Yeah, exactly. It's not being able to kill off games and allowing teams back into it. To be fair, to us in that first half, when we were actually zipping the ball around and moving it quickly, we were causing St Mirren problems, and we were sort of forcing them to kind of move out of their shape. We get the one where Canberra goes in behind, and it's actually a good save by Rodgers, and then I think it comes out to Stevenson, and that's another good save by Rodgers actually. That was really the only time where we played a little bit quickly. We were sort of knocking the ball between 2 or 3 players. And I mean, that's how we win games. That's how we were scoring goals last season. Is we were sort of knocking the ball around, freely. We were quick going forward. We always looked a threat going forward. It seems at the moment everybody just kind of wants too many touches, and they want to be safe. They want to wait until everybody's back in position and then have the entire game in front of them, so they can play a sideways pass rather than a forward pass that might get the crowd in their back. Which is understandable given the run of form. You want to make things as safe and as easy as possible for yourselves, but at the same time, we are going to have somebody eventually who steps up and takes responsibility and does something a little bit out of the ordinary and something a little bit creative, and provides that kind of spark that is going to get us the 3 points and is going to get us back to winning ways. I think the poor decision making comes into that, because I think what you probably do have is 2 or 3 players who like Daryl Horgan, who are sort of bearing down on goal and who do maybe not see their name up in lights or anything, but do maybe say this is this is going to be the goal that kind of kickstarts the fight back, which in a way is good, but when the end product is not there, it's frustrating, and you can understand why fans do get frustrated. I don't know the solution to that. I've not played any SPFL games.
What would you do if it was Football Manager?
Go on holiday? No, I mean,
quit, don't save, reboot.
Unfortunately we don't have that option, and that would be nice though. I think you look at that team that was on the pitch today, even with the players we had out, there should have been enough talent on that pitch to win the game. And it goes back to what we were saying about the Hamilton game, is it's virtually the same team. Again, there's 1 or 2 sort of slight omissions with players being out injured and suspended and whatever it is, but it's kind of perplexing in a way, and it's one for Neil Lennon and Gary Parker to figure out. But I mean, the talent is there. It's not as if we're looking at a squad of players who just aren't up for the task. They quite clearly are up for it.
I said that to you at half time, that this isn't a bad team. We know as recently as 2 months ago that this isn't a bad team, and usually when you go through, I mean, we look at previous eras in the last 10-15 years of Hibs, we can tell early on this team's going to struggle here, or this player's not good enough, or that player's not good enough, we need to strengthen here. I can't explain. If someone was, as people would say, what's happened to your team recently, the honest answer is, I have no idea. I don't understand how this has happened and how it's happened so rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, even look sort of back to the start of this season when, even when we were sort of playing in Europe, even after the Molde game, or the away game against Molde, where it wasn't a great performance, we get deservedly beaten by a better side. Nobody sort of came away from that game thinking, well, that's our season over, that's this, it's that. Everybody came away from that game thinking, well, I mean, that was a decent enough run.
We can go one step further
next season. We've got a good base of a squad here. Alright, it's maybe not quite as good as last season, but it's definitely up to the task of getting European football back here next campaign, where we can go and strengthen, we can bring in a few more players and make this a more rounded squad. But I mean, it is hard to kind of put your finger on what has changed between then and now, because it's the same squad. Actually, there's a squad with a few more additions in it, where in positions that, in theory, we needed to strengthen in. And admittedly, guys like Nellam and Charalampos, who made his debut tonight, I didn't think did too badly tonight. I thought he was solid enough.
Very important block at the end as well. Very important
block at the end to block Hamill. He had a couple of nice touches going forward. Maybe he wasn't quite as happy to go past his man as I thought he would be, but I thought he showed enough that he could be a decent enough asset in that position. Seemed to have a decent enough crossing ability as well. I mean, these are guys that, in theory, if they're not going to improve the squad, they should at least maintain the standard. And I don't think anybody can look at the squad, from that Mulder game now and say that it's not at least as strong as it was. It is one of those things that's it's frustrating because you can't put your finger on what's wrong. And obviously there's a dressing room down there. There's a training centre at East Mains that we're not there every day. We don't know what's being said at the moment. We don't know what's being said on a day-to-day basis. But from a purely sort of fans' point of view, which is what we are, it is completely bewildering as to what exactly has happened over the past few weeks.
More from James and I shortly, but let's hear from Gary Parker speaking with Hibs TV.
How do we sum that one up tonight, Gary? Another frustrating evening?
Very frustrating, as I say. I just said earlier, they score a wonder goal. You can accept that sometimes. You can't do nothing about that. But then we get back into the game 1 each, and you're thinking, come on, lads, let's go on and win the game. Again, a mistake. Give a free kick away. Ball in the box, not picking the man up. Free header, 2-1. You get it back to 2 each, and you're just hoping ready you can go on and get the winner. But again, it wasn't good enough.
Is it frustrating the goals we're losing? Teams are not really having to work hard for their goals. We seem to be conceding silly ones. Silly goals. It's been like that for a couple of weeks now. It's hard to put your finger on it. You know why? It's just individual mistakes, and as you say, it's killing us. We got back to 2-2, as you say. Again, we got back to 1-1. We looked like the team that was in the ascendancy. Lost a daft goal. Got back 2-2. Pressed hard, but we're just not getting that wee break when we need it either. We're not getting the break, but we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to try and create and make things happen. There's certain individuals who are not performing at the moment, not doing what's asked of them. They know they are. You can see the punters know they are, and they got to turn it around. How do you turn it around? I know that's a difficult question and you're working hard at it, but how do we do it? Well, you just keep working in training. We just need a game where it's going to be a tough game on Saturday against Hamilton, but we're going to go there, and as soon as you get that win, it would lift everybody. But at the moment, it's hard to see where it's going to come from at the moment. And the key is, it doesn't really matter how you get the win at the moment, it's just getting the win to lift the confidence. It's just getting the win, even if you're not playing well, just an ugly win to do. 3 points, that's all that matters, and it will give you a lift. And as you see, Hamilton on Saturday, it's not an easy game on the artificial surface, but they didn't have a great result tonight either, so they'll have something to prove. We'll have something to prove. Yes, to be honest with you, I don't really know the results. We've been in there talking to the players all this time. So, but if they'd be able to beat, especially after we beat them at home earlier 6-0, they won't pay back. So, it should be a good game, and hopefully that we can come out on top.
So, I suppose we better get back onto this game. Yeah. To sum up the rest of the first half, where they got to. So, you've already mentioned Canberry's save and the save Rodgers had from Canberry, then Stevenson. I think the only other thing worth mentioning is, again, to go back to that final decision. Morgan releases shot. He's got Boyle just bursting through the middle, but Shaw decides to take the shot on. It's tame, it's straight at the goalkeeper, and then there was a moment right at the end that summed up the first half to me. Ollie Shaw, we've got a chance at a counter attack. Ollie Shaw's taking the ball down the wing. Canberry runs into the middle, surrounded by 3 or 4 defenders. Absolutely nobody goes to help Ollie Shaw, and I can't remember whether it ends in a throw in or a foul or what, but that summed it up to me, and that was the first half. So second half starts again. We make a chance within the opening seconds. Canberry completely missed the ball. Then Horgan scuffed it wide, but I think there was a flag up anyway. They're going out for a goal kick. We then lose Marvin Bartley, and Mark Milligan comes on in his place. And there was just there was just nothing up until the equaliser. There was still no real signs of there was. I don't think Rodgers, did he make a save in the second half?
I don't remember him making any real sort of.
And when the goal comes, it's good, clever play, but I'm going to assume it was Mavrias that when St Mirren have got a player down injured, he's off the pitch, so Mavrias takes a quick throw in. Because St Mirren have got the man off, Boyle has all the time and the space in the wing, does very well, cuts it back, Ollie Shaw equalises, and you're then thinking, okay, we're back in it, let's build momentum, let's push on.
Yeah, and I mean, it is, we said at half time that it's going to take a little bit of luck or a little bit of skill or a little bit of creativity to get us back into this game, and I suppose we get a bit of creativity and a bit of luck in that I think it's McGuinness that I suppose in hindsight for him he might as well have just stayed exactly on the line, which is where he was when he went down. It's our luck that he rolls to his left rather than to his right and he goes off the pitch. Really quick thinking by Mavrias, and you're right, I mean he gives it to Boyle, who has just about the entire side of the pitch to run into. Nice ball back, and I mean it's just a classic Ollie Shaw goal. Yep. One touch finish, and you're right to expect that I think it takes a little while for the kick-off to happen. I think the St Mirren players are having a bit of a go at the linesman for not pulling the game back, but McGuinness is off the pitch. There's nothing that we can do about that. But you're expecting St Mirren to kick off and us to just absolutely fly out the traps and go after them, and again that didn't really happen. And again, maybe that comes down to a confidence thing of if we do commit everybody forward, we end up losing a goal. Now admittedly we end up losing a goal anyway, which is one of those that's a lesson that perhaps we should have been a little bit more quick out off the mark and catch them while they were, while they lost a goal that they probably didn't expect to lose against this team. But it was at least, it was at least a little bit of a creative spark. It was at least a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck, I suppose, in a way, to get us back into it. And again, it's one of those where you look at it and you think, well, in isolation, that's a good goal for us. It's quick thinking. It's a classic sort of Hibs goal. We get Boyle down the wing. We've got striker in the middle to tap it home. In the context of this game, though, it's one of those where you kind of think, well, in the end, it's got us a point, but it didn't really give us the kind of boost that we needed.
No, and it can only be within 5 minutes. St Mirren go 2-1 up. We have lost some absurd goals in recent weeks, but that equaliser, it was almost a carbon copy of Shaughnessy's winner for St Johnstone here a few weeks ago. Now, it was Paul McGinn that scored. I don't think Paul McGinn is renowned for being a giant and a formidable force in the box.
I don't think Paul McGinn knew he scored either, to be honest.
I think there was at least 4 Hibs players within a yard of him. He's just there to be a nuisance as much as anything, but none of these 3 or 4 players are marking him. They're standing within a yard, but they're just watching him. And it is so simple and so basic a goal to concede, and just like that you're right back to square one.
Yeah, you wonder if it's Adam Hamill standing over that free kick, and you wonder if there was a little bit of trepidation from the Hibs players to maybe kind of it wouldn't have been beyond Adam Hamill to go for a goal. It's a brilliant ball in, but you're right, it's terrible defending, and said Adam Bogdan's probably not at fault for the first goal. I don't think he's at fault for the second goal either, but he certainly comes and doesn't really...
Defender should be clearing
his defender should be clearing that for him. Bogdan does make the decision to come. It's maybe one that he kind of feels forced to make, and that there's not really decisive defending in front of him, so he has to come out and get something on it, but he doesn't. And again, that's not particularly on him, but it comes back to decision making and making decisions as a team. Again, it is very like Shaughnessy's winner for St Johnstone, but again, it was one of those where St Mirren scored and there's no reaction from the home crowd, and it's almost kind of expected that they were going to score, and it's frustrating that that's the situation we're in at the moment. But it's one of those that the players who are in that team and the players who are on that pitch know what they did wrong there. It's about eliminating those mistakes from our game. And you're absolutely right that I don't think Paul McGinn is known for his towering presence in the box. Certainly it doesn't run in the family being towering presence in the box. But yeah, it's one of those where it's basic mistakes. It's schoolboy error, to use the old cliche, but it's got to be sort of driven out of our game.
Yeah. So from there, I thought Darryl Horgan was given man of the match, rightly so. It's a strange one for me, Darryl Horgan. He's one of these players that I don't think anyone's escaping criticism at the moment, but he seems to be one that's been listed by a few fans online, and I think he's one of our most dangerous players. I think he's one of our most crucial threats. At Parkhead, he was our best player. He then got dropped for a couple of games after that. He came on against Kilmarnock. He came on at half time, I think, on Saturday, and immediately he started to make an impact. So building up to equaliser, he puts in a brilliant left foot cross, and Shaw, I think, goes to take it with his head and then changes his mind, and he gets caught in two minds and the ball just kind of drifts past him. But then for the equaliser itself, there's a kind of aimless long ball played to Horgan. The first touch is phenomenal, David Murphy-esque, dare I say, and that's what wins the corner. And it's a very routine goal, but we've just kind of bemoaned Hibs set piece defending. Ryan Porteous Porteous is given all the space in the world, and Ryan Porteous is really adding an attacking presence to his game.
Yeah, it's a couple of goals in a couple of weeks now for him, isn't it? Gets a goal against Dundee. It's another sort of towering header. It is a very good header, and it's good movement from him as well. He kind of gets away from his marker, and I mean he puts it right in the far corner as well. Even Rodgers stays in his line, he's not getting to it. Another very good delivery by Stevie Malin. I mean, you kind of take those goals, whenever you can get them. But yeah, I mean, I think with Daryl Horgan, I think the frustration is just decision making, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier, and it is at times the end product. I thought at times today's crossing was excellent. Likes of Canberry and Shaw were just not quite getting on the end of it. He seems to like sort of cutting in and playing sort of an in swinger rather than swinging the ball out the way, which is not a bad thing if you have the sort of players to get on the end of it. I thought at times tonight he kind of drifted out of the game, but when he did get on the ball he did look dangerous. It's just linking up that crossing with the movement in the middle, and finding a bit of consistency for him, because I think you're absolutely right that when he came on Saturday he was the first player to actually show any kind of attacking threat. Obviously then we go on to the second half where he is through and he does sort of go for glory, but that's exactly what we're saying, is we do need players to step up, and we do need players to kind of who are going to have that creative spark, and
we don't want to fall into the same trap that we've watched for let's say near on 10 years at Easter Road, where when the home crowd's on their back they pick up the ball, and I mean, dare I say, we even seen it in injury time there with Stevenson picks up the ball, we're 4.5 minutes into 5 minutes of stoppage time, and he passes it back to Bogdan, and that's where you want players like Horgan and Ambrose as well, where they go, do you know what, if I make a complete pig's dinner of this, that feels so weird to say without just swearing, if I make a complete hash of this, then the crowd are going to get on my back, but I'm not bothered because I'm trying to get the ball forward, I'm trying to drive, and it's about kind of showing that having the mental strength to do that and not just play the safe option.
And it's exactly what you say. We spent years of watching guys knock the ball from side to side, which in situations like this, when you need a 3 points and you need a win, isn't what's required. I mean, a good example of this season was actually Horgan's debut against Ross County, where that was a very poor performance against Ross County in the League Cup, and it ends with Daryl Horgan in the last minute sort of showing a nice bit of skill to get away from his man, and then he curls one right in the bottom corner to win it for us. And that's exactly what we're talking about. This is exactly the kind of game today where we needed that spark, and we needed somebody to do something a little bit out of the ordinary. But it is about helping to take away that fear that the crowd's not going to chastise you for trying it, because I think that has affected Hibs teams in the past, and that's no criticism of the crowd. Again turned out their numbers tonight. I think what was it, 15,000 the attendance, which is not bad for what is a miserable Wednesday night.
An expensive time of year.
Time of year. You're right. It is about the individual players having individual mental strength to do something like that, and it's one of those where it is maybe going to take something extraordinary and something a little bit out of the ordinary to happen. It's maybe going to take like a huge deflection or somebody trying their luck from inside their own half to sort of get us back to trying those things. But at the moment we have the talent on the pitch to do it. It's just not quite happening for us.
Looking at the chances at the end, there was one where Boyle had space and he cut inside the shot straight at the goalkeeper. Mavrias, we've already talked about his block at the end. I thought all day long that Hamill was getting beyond him and then would have the freedom of the goal to shoot, but he done very well, and then that was it. It just kind of petered out, it just fizzled out into a 2-2 draw, and we look ahead now. There's Hamilton Accies have just been scalped 4-0 at Dens Park tonight, so they're going to be bereft of confidence. We are clearly bereft of confidence, but it's another chance to go and show that, I don't know, just show how good we are. And what would you do? Would you stick? To me, that 4-4-2, it got changed midway through the second half. I wasn't adverse to, we kind of went 4-3-3, 4-3-1-2. I would be tempted to try that again against Accies on Saturday and see where we go from there.
Yeah, it's a Hamilton side scalped 4-0 by Dundee tonight, and who beat St Mirren 3-1 on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they're an odd side. I suppose it's like, you know, the bottom of the table every year is everybody kind of beats each other, and you know, it's difficult to really sort of find any kind of consistency. Certainly looking at Hamilton's previous performance here this season, I thought they were awful. You know, I thought they offered absolutely nothing, and I mean, looked about as likely to score in that game as we did a third tonight, to be honest. You know, they just did not look like creating anything. At the same time, at the weekend I thought St Mirren looked absolutely dreadful. I thought Hamilton looked not amazing, but, you know,
better than St
Mirren. James Keaton scores an absolutely fantastic goal in that game, and you know,
you just know we're going to give him too much space at least once, don't you?
Plus, it's away at Hamilton, which I think I've only seen us win there twice. I mean, I must have been about 7 or 8 times, and I mean, it's usually kind of a place where you go and you just think, God, why are we here? You know, it's
Riordan's second debut is the only time I've seen us beat Hamilton at whatever it's called now. It's had many names over the years. Oh well, it's the Cannabis Oil Stadium now, CBD,
which, you know, I'm sure there'll be absolutely no jokes made about that whatsoever at all. You know, but I mean, we'll want to finish Saturday on a high, you know, regardless of what happened here tonight. I mean, if Hamilton play the way they did earlier this season against this Hibs team, they might get a 0-0 draw, to be honest. But you know, we should take heart from the fact that we absolutely annihilated them earlier this season. I don't think they're a good side. I think they're going to be frustrating to play against. I don't think it's going to be a game for the purists. I don't think it's going to be one where we come away and go, well, I'm glad I was there for that. You know, I'm glad I saw this moment in football history. I think if we do win it, it's going to be, I was going to say it's going to be dirty, it's going to be a muddy one, but it's not going to be muddy, is it? It's going to be those thousands of those
Burnley one, would you call it?
Thousands of those little black pellets everywhere. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, and it seems ridiculous saying that going away to Hamilton, but at this point it's going to be tough. But I mean, we couldn't really ask for a better chance to try and get 3 points on the board, because I mean, as we've already said, you know, it's a poor result for them tonight. They were poor when they played here earlier this season, and we're going to look extremely silly if they turn us over on Saturday, now that we've said this.
So that'll do us for this week's episode. Extended highlights from Wednesday are now available, with the rest of this season's games as well as a huge archive of other classics all on Hibs TV. Next up for us is the trip west to face Hamilton on Saturday. Check the website for full ticket and Hibs TV information for that one. Until the next time, my thanks to James Delaney as always for joining me. Apologies for the recent lack of episodes. We should be back on track now. Thank you for listening, and join us next time on The Final Whistle.